for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
He suffered equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am. If you no talk, they go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Crisis in the People's Democratic Party as 7 members of the National Working Committee resign. PDP governors call emergency meeting to discuss the issues.
Lawyer Femi Falana seeks clarification over the non-trial of 400 suspected members of Boko Haram 3 months after the arrest.
And also a review of today's papers and much more coming your way this morning on The Breakfast. And with that, we say good morning and welcome to the midweek edition of The Breakfast here on Plus TV Africa. Beautiful Wednesday morning. I hope that you've gotten enough rest and you're ready for all the tasks and challenges for today. I am Osaogie Ogbonwa.
Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. I am Anetta Felix. And good morning, Osaogie.
Morning to you.
Wow, quite an interesting start to a Wednesday morning. First of all, our top trending story, we're beginning with a picture that seems to have gone viral. It's of a Nigerian soldier that is sleeping on a mattress that is hinged on tree branches. And another soldier there seeming to be attending to him. The picture didn't come with a caption to explain what exactly is happening, so we don't have an idea if that's a blood transfusion from one soldier to the other, if it's whatever it is. We have no idea what that picture is saying and what exactly is, being done in terms of treatment for the soldier. But I think the focus here is on the environment, right? The state of welfare of Nigerian soldiers. This is something we've talked about for a while. We've had soldiers sneak out videos of themselves talking about the challenges they're facing on the war front, how many of their colleagues are dying, releasing videos saying these terrorists are coming with arms and ammunition that are so sophisticated and they don't have anything to match that up. And the colleagues of theirs die on the field. Colleagues of theirs, face so many health challenges, but help doesn't seem to be coming from anywhere. They get very little food and they have to ration. So it makes you wonder if this is a soldier that is being sent to the war front to battle terrorists who are funded by multi-billionaires, according to one of the topics we'll be talking about later today. What chance do we have to fight terrorism in the country?
Well, we've multiple times we've spoken about the issues with funding for security agencies, and I've always mentioned that there's obviously a challenge with auditing, where these billions go to, the billions that are budgeted every year. If it is simply just to pay the salaries of these soldiers, which of course are still not enough, or to buy equipment, and if it is to buy equipment, how come they're not getting enough, for not just ammunition now, but also for medical equipment, clothing, stuff that they might use in the battlefield and all of that. There's still no major questions being asked as to what really happens to all the billions that is budgeted every year for the Nigerian military and for the Nigerian police, who still will tell you that they don't have money for petrol before they attend to your security challenges, who would still ask you to buy airtime in their phones, who will still, of course, collect bribe from you, to carry out. I read someone who said he had a 270,000 naira case, that someone was owing him. He called the police, he had approached the police and reported, and they asked him for 300,000 to be able to, pursue that case. But that's for the police. For the army, it's pretty much the same thing, and every now and then you mentioned there's one video or the other where they are complaining about, poor funding and, lack of resources to be able to actually carry out the war against insurgency and to be somehow, some way, have all the things that they need in the battlefront. But, for the picture that we just showed, I've seen that, and it seems like, there's an intravenous connected to the soldier who was lying down. Doesn't look like a blood transfusion because it seems there's something hanging on the tree, wherever that is. And I would simply also say that I think, in the battlefront, not everything, there's not going to be world-class hospitals waiting for you there. And so it is also part of the training that soldiers have to be able to treat themselves at emergency situations before help comes. In other climes, maybe there will be a helicopter to move the soldier to a proper hospital, to a military hospital. Maybe there would be, a military hospital somewhere close by where soldiers like this can be moved to when they fall ill or when they're hit by bullets or whatnot. But for me, I'm seeing this as soldier, making do with what he has in the battlefront, where there isn't necessarily the very best medical care. It's part of their training. It's part of the things that they will have to deal with in order to survive. They have some of the, best survival tactics, and that's part of their training. If you are going to be a soldier, if you fall ill in the battlefront, no one is expecting that you would immediately be moved to Luth or to any hospital, close by. You would have to be, on the battlefield and get stronger right there until there's better medical care provided for you. But, the question is, will there be better medical care provided for these soldiers or not? And so we can't really judge 100% from what this picture is saying. I would simply just say that, there will be, questions, that we will continue to ask concerning funding and auditing of the funds that have been provided for the military and for security agencies every year in the national budget. And also commending this, brave soldier who, of course, is being able to work under the toughest conditions, while bullets are flying left and right, still is able to set up an IV fluid and also treat his fellow soldier.
Yes, indeed. The fact that we lack clarity as to what's happening in that picture, is something that really bothers me, because we need the facts to really tell the story. But we also don't know, because we know that usually medical troops should accompany them, people trained to be able to treat people and give them immediately, first aid. So why there's a challenge with that, the fact that there is no caption, because we don't know if that soldier that we see treating that man or the other soldier lying on the bed is part of, those medical troops. But the fact remains that, it's glaring and almost, saddening to see that as a Nigerian, someone who's on the front lines trying to make sure that we all are safe is, receives that kind of treatment, poor and just inadequate. Anyway, still talking about terrorism, we know that in the first week of May, the federal government announced that they had arrested about 400 suspected terrorism financiers, and that these were primarily owners of the Bureau de Change, and that they were going to immediately begin prosecution. 3 months later, we're yet to see anything about that. We're here to get updates, even though they had said that, there was a Jusen strike, Judiciary Staff Union, and that after the strike, they were going to begin prosecution. But the strike is long over. We're not hearing anything from them yet. Then there was a report by Sahara reporters. We can't independently verify, the claims made in that report, but it went into points accusing fingers at Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, saying that Malami had basically tried to stop the raid of those terrorism financiers, had collected money from them and had freed them, saying that he just didn't want the names of those terrorism financiers to be revealed. Again, these are unconfirmed reports by Sahara reporters. But the big story is that yesterday, August 2nd on Tuesday, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, sent an FOI request, a Freedom of Information request, to Malami, asking him to immediately, provide details about these terrorists that were arrested and why prosecution is stalling. He's giving them 7 days, according to FOI rules, to make sure that we know exactly where we stand regarding these people. Because there's something the government keeps saying: we know who the terrorists are, we know who their sponsors are, we're going to publish names, and then months and months later, it seems that story is dead.
Yeah, so for the third time, we can't verify the allegations made by Sahara reporters. There is no actual proof of anything, so far, so those are really just, that's really just a story on Sahara reporters that has, no actual verification yet. So starting with that, I would also say that, I personally have always believed that if we were sincere with our fight against insurgency, there are, two things that were very important, that we should have done, and one of them was being able to find out and arrest people who, three things, arrest people who, were the source of the funding for these terrorists. They don't, have any other way of making money except through either kidnapping or financial support from whoever it is that is behind them. It doesn't matter who they are. It could be people from outside the country even, but there is a follow the money, basically. It's a money trail that you can follow, and you will be able to find out who is sponsoring these terrorists. And when you cut off the funding, it's one of the ways to weaken these insurgents. In every single way. Another thing was, of course, being able to show prosecution for arrested terrorists, for both their financiers and, those who have been arrested or caught in the act of terrorism. They should be charged to court and they should be, sentenced, if found guilty. For the last 10 years, we've not been able to see any actual Boko Haram or bandit or insurgent or on gun-known men or whatever they are called, who have been charged to court and sentenced for these crimes in 10 years. The final one would be, how much work we've done with regards to our borders. Where do these weapons come in from? They are not manufactured here in Nigeria, and so they have to be coming in through somewhere, and it means that there's somebody who's letting them into the country somehow, some way. There's definitely a person who turns his, turns his face the other way when these weapons are being brought into Nigeria. So those are the three things that I've always mentioned. But of course, it has to do a lot with political will. And it's great that we had a conversation yesterday with Getso, the guy we interviewed yesterday, who said a lot, with regards to the fight against insurgency and banditry. With regards to their financing, there's absolutely no way that the Nigerian government would say that in 10 years, they've not been able to follow 1,000 naira and find out the source of the 1,000 naira that went to a bandit or went to a terrorist. There's absolutely no way. You can't tell that to a 3-year-old and he or she would believe you. There's no way that the Nigerian government would boast and say that in 10 years, we've started this fight since, 2009 or 2010? In 10 years, we've not been able to follow two dirty 500 naira notes that went to a bandit or Boko Haram or
but that's what they said in May, that they know who is
Well,
providing the money. The challenge
until,
is, let us know exactly, because they've been saying that they were going to prosecute
until
and name and shame
we
these
get
people.
there. So that's why I put those three things together. Until we get to that place where they actually show these names, then I'm going to assume that we don't know. And the Nigerian government is claiming that they still don't know if they've supposedly arrested 400 people and they've not been able to tell the Nigerian people who these people are. They've not been able to prosecute or send them to court, and go through the whole process. Then I'm going to continue to assume that we don't know. In 10 years, the Nigerian government cannot in any way say that they are not aware of, they've not been able to arrest 5 people, 1 person, 10 people that were responsible and show proof. Look at what the Hush Puppy case has shown. They followed the money, they investigated, there are traces, phone calls, WhatsApp messages, so much evidence that shows that, these persons are guilty of the crimes that they are being accused of. Nothing like that in 10 years of fighting insurgency. So I don't think we're serious as a country. I think we're joking around with the lives of Nigerian people, and until we begin to get serious, we'll continue to see these deaths and kidnappings every other day.
Okay, our final top trending story is about sympathy strike. We know that when one union or body is striking, protesting over something, and another union, goes on to protest or strike in support of that. And that seems to be what the River State government says is happening in their state. We know that NARCH, the Association of Resident Doctors, had, embarked on a strike April 1st. They called that off and, went on a strike again August 2nd, Monday, saying that the government had, been paying resident doctors irregularly. Just went on to give a whole list of challenges, especially with the failure of the government to fulfill the memorandum of action that they had signed that made them call off that strike. So in River State, the governor, this is a statement we have here, released yesterday by Tammy Danagogo. He's the secretary to the state government, SSG. He said that the resident doctors of River State are paid regularly by the state and that they have no right to go on a sympathy strike with other doctors. They went on to say that this strike action should be only applicable to doctors, resident doctors who are under the payroll of the federal government. They're saying this doesn't affect you because we pay your salaries as at when due. So the question then becomes, what then is the legality of a sympathy strike? And actually, does the River State government pay resident doctors like they say? So, but if indeed they pay resident doctors, still goes back to the first question. Do they really have to show solidarity for their own, other members of their union? It still is a lot, because when I spoke to the ARD president in Luth yesterday, he mentioned that, that members of NAD are going on a compliance and monitoring visit around all, hospitals, and that doctors who do not comply with the strike, doctors who sit that out, would be penalized, they will be fined, and that they will be blacklisted as saboteurs. So it really seems to be a dicey situation. Do you protest or do you strike in solidarity with your colleagues, or do you risk losing your job?
The River State government seems to have a point, with the fact that they claim to be paying salaries regularly. And so, why do you want to punish indigents of the state, by going on strike along with those who are not being paid salaries? But I think they also need to understand, Governor Wike rather needs to understand that, it's pretty much same as, saying that, if anyone dies in Benue of a terrorist attack, then people in Edo State shouldn't bother, complaining because, well, nobody's dying here, so why should you complain? There is, a fault with that. And I believe that the doctors have a union, and if they feel like there's a couple of states that they mentioned, I just can't remember them now, that have been owing for 9 months, for 12 months, for 6 months, and haven't paid resident doctors. And so I feel it's a thing that every resident doctor needs to, has decided rather, that they are going to, campaign against, they're going on strike against. Every single doctor across the country needs to be paid regularly, needs to have an increased hazard allowance, need to have better COVID financing, and payment. And so they cannot single out just the states where they are not being paid properly. They cannot also say, okay, just federal government doctors, would not work, and the state government workers, will go back to work. I don't think it works like that. I understand, where Governor Wike is coming from, and I would, maybe also, well, I understand basically, but I don't think it works like that. You can't. It's pretty much same with ASU. And then when they were having issues with the lecturers, and some lecturers went ahead to sign with the IPPIS, and others said, no, they're going to stay with UTAS and going to continue with the strike. They also had challenges then, saying that it seemed like some lecturers were backstabbing them. It's also sometimes when you hear that ASU is going on strike, and then some universities will say, oh, we're not going to be part of this ASU strike. We don't care about whatever it is you're complaining about. This university is going to keep on running. It feels like backstabbing the union. And so I hope, that if they all go on strike, it gets the federal government and the state governments to understand the concerns that every single, doctor is sharing here, and encourages them or, convinces them to, have those conversations with the federal government, have those conversations with whoever it is that is necessary to ensure that their, finances are, done better, and they, get what they feel like they deserve. I personally don't like, threatening striking workers with sack, because, simply address the concerns that, they've put out. It's not greed here. They have simple concerns that need to be addressed, and they're doctors. Come on. I saw can't remember who said it, that how do you pay doctors 5,000 naira hazard allowance when House of Assembly members are receiving, hazard allowance in millions? Make it make sense, that National Assembly members will be receiving hazard allowance, in millions of naira. What hazard are they really dealing with in the National Assembly? Can anybody share with me one National Assembly member that as a result of doing his duty, of going to work every day, collapsed or something? In what way is the National Assembly member at risk doing his job? They have security details, they have drivers, they have policemen who are attached to them. What exactly is that hazard that you would make you pay, a National Assembly member millions of naira as hazard allowance? And then compare it to a doctor who has to go face to face with patients every single day, who risks getting infected with various diseases every day, in the course of their duty, who has to work tireless hours to ensure that patients get the medical services and, response that is needed. We're still very, very, far behind with regards to our healthcare system. And so, I believe, that they have good reasons for wanting to go on strike, and they should be listened to. And it's unfair, that you sign a memorandum of action, 100 days passes, you don't implement any of these, agreements, and, you act like you don't know why they're going on strike. I think it's unfair, but Governor Wike needs to also understand that part, that A can't go on strike and B says, oh, I don't care because I'm receiving salary. I don't care about A not receiving salary.
All right, big stories in the newspapers today. We'll be taking a look at them after the break.
businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
Welcome to this edition of Timeless Conversations. My guest today is Alfred Okoro.
The Nigerians here seem frustrated. Everybody wants to leave. And the moment they cross these waters, they excel. Both Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, South, everybody in Nigeria. We've been ranked the most successful ethnic group in the United States. Why is it that we excel there, but not at home? Our diversity makes us the better. I believe so. I will be one of those to tell you I do not believe this country was designed to succeed. But so what? Nobody wants to start anything that they will not live to enjoy.
Timeless Conversations, airing every Sunday at 8:30 p.m.
Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Statutorily mandated to ensure that there is regulation and promotion of matters affecting our waters. NIMASA bears responsibility for search and rescue, shipping development, and ship registration.
NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on this channel.
It's now time for Off the Press on The Breakfast. Let's begin with the Punch newspaper. APC plans Buni Oyetola Bello's removal from caretaker team, eyes interim exco. Party fears future implications of Supreme Court's judgment on Yobe government. APC member asks courts to annul congresses, sack Buni-led committee. No going back on congresses, no apex court judgment bars us. That's according to the secretary. There's a picture here of a car wreck on the front page of the Punch newspaper, as well as a burning gate. And the headline reads, protesting FUTA students barricade highway, blame gatemen for colleague's death. Above the headline on the Punch newspaper, November will test Apapa truck call-up success. That's according to truckers. Carey appears before panel, mounts defense against hush puppies allegations. U.S. vaccine lifeline. FG states workout sharing formula. Lagos gets priority. Federal government directs NSIA to source Mambila $200 million judgment debt for Chinese firm. Nnamdi Kanu stable. Needs advanced medical attention. That's according to his lawyer. NAPTIP, DSS, NSCDC rescue 13 Libya-bound Nigerians. Arrest suspected trafficker. Below the headlines on the Punch, planned creation of 19 LCDAs follows wide consultations. That's in Ekiti. 7 feared dead as Okada riders clash over levy in Ogun State. Buhari, Lawan, Tinubu, others mourn Abiodun's father. An escaped 14-year-old boy here is saying that he saw a woman beheaded son where kidnappers kept him. Ogun berates Adebutu over alleged diversion of 64 billion naira local government allocation. And lastly, on the Punch newspaper, court hears Igboho's 5 billion naira suit against Malami DSS today.
All right, and now moving on to the Nation newspapers. Big one there says Oshimbajo's team working on ways out of APC's legal ditch, while last-minute attempt to postpone ward congresses was stalled. Varsities to get 30 billion naira next week. Government and ASU meet. APC PDP reject Jaga's call for third force. It's time for alternative. And also, lawyer says Igboho awaiting action on asylum application. Makinde tips 7 as commissioners. Also on the Nation, resident doctors' strike takes toll on patients at hospitals. And stringent COVID-19 measures likely. Also NNPC to safeguard investment with conditions for IOC's divestment. JAMB, NUC, UBEC, others get acting CEO. And Kanu is firm and stable in custody. That's the last one on the Nation newspapers this morning.
All right, so let's quickly turn to The Guardian. The headline reads, fresh battles rage for soul of PDP APC ahead of 2020. New UAE flight rule on bans Nigerians, Indians, 4 others. INEC bags NBA CJN to intervene in Anambra Guba cases. INEC begs NBA CJN to intervene in Anambra Guba cases. Poor, not rich, benefits from fuel subsidy. Economists counter FG. Records show how previous price hikes have worsened inflation and unemployment. Fuel subsidy removal endangers survival of million households. Also in the Guardian newspaper, Nigeria does not have enough COVID-19 isolation centers yet to learn, says resident doctors. Siasia takes case against FIFA ban to U.S. federal court. And I believe those are the ones we're looking at on the Guardian.
All right, that's what we can find on the Daily Trust newspapers. Third wave, NYSC camps on red alert as 109 test positive for COVID-19. Short camps to check spread, experts urge federal government. NCDC records 851 cases in 2 days, 11 deaths in 1 day. Government may roll out lockdown measures soon. And NYSC says we're safeguarding members. Heavy rainfall, Kano residents lament as flood destroys property. Uncertainty as UAE lifts flights ban on Nigeria 5 months after. Also, wife pours hot water on husband over forced marriage. Fresh crisis hits PDP as 7 NWC members resign. We can also find on the Daily Trust this morning, APC chieftain asks courts to nullify Congress's disband Buni committee. And Buhari deploys 9 permanent secretaries. We can also find gastroenteritis kills 23 in Sokoto State. Those are the big ones on the Daily Trust newspapers. And just before we connect with our guest, I think we can also quickly just play around with some of these stories. Of course, the COVID-19, it seems, as the numbers increase, it doesn't seem like, and this is from what I've seen, it doesn't seem like a lot of people as worried as they were in 2020. I remember when we first had, the NCDC announced that we had 100 cases in 2020, and everyone was scared, like 100 in Nigeria. Next thing we had up to 2,000 and more cases daily. Now we're seeing 851 recorded cases and 11 deaths. And if you look around, just ask around, it doesn't seem like a lot of people, are bothered. I'm not sure it's because of the vaccinated, because we barely have up to 5 million people vaccinated already. So I really don't know why. What do you think?
Well, just like in several other parts of Africa, I believe that people feel that the COVID-19 seems to be, just really enough. Take a walk around the city and you find just a handful of people wearing face masks. And those who do are simply to gain entrance into buildings. Yeah. And you can definitely take it off when you're inside. So lots of questions to be asked. I remember when there was a briefing here, the MPHCDA talking about the third wave of COVID-19, promises of COVID-19 vaccines to arrive Nigeria by the end of August. That seemed to have given Nigerians hope, in some sort of ways that, when we're talking about these vaccines, it's something that everyone should be able to take. I've been trying to convince neighbors of mine to go ahead and take the vaccines, but you still see that vaccine hesitancy. But you wonder really, is the government doing enough in terms of sensitizing people, about the COVID-19 vaccines and just how effective it can be? But still there are misconceptions. Other people feel that once you've taken the vaccine, you're immune. But the facts show otherwise. It doesn't make you immune. You can still, at least that's what we've heard from WHO, that you can still contract the virus, just that the effect will not be as, as terrible as it would have if you had not been vaccinated. But about the story on Daily Trust, that, experts are urging the federal government to shut camps. I believe that that's the right move. If states like Lagos and, organizations like, or institutions like Unilag are going ahead to shut down, the school just to safeguard people, I feel that nationally that's something we should be thinking of, because if people get infected in the NYC camps, there's definitely a tendency that these case figures would rise. Oh. But I'm aware we have our guest now, public affairs analyst Ambrose Igboke. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, so we're just speaking about the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria, but I want us to focus on the stories that we've seen in recent days that seem to have begun with the APC World Congresses in some states, the violence there as well, and what's happening with all the caretaker committees. The headline on the Punch reads, APC plans Buni Oyotola Bello's removal from caretaker team. We're seeing also that it seems that the PDP has some internal squabbles as well with some PDP governors, or I beg your pardon, PDP ESCOs and national leaders resigning, saying Secondos is pushing them out. So what are your comments really regarding the APC, PDP ruling an opposition party and what seems to be an internal crisis in both of them?
Well, it is not new. We are used to internal crisis of political parties, especially when it nears election time. 2023 is a major election. We saw this happening, in 2002, leading to 2003, the same thing in 2006, 2005, leading to 2007, and all those. So it's a recurring decimal in Nigerian politics. And it only goes to show that our politics is not yet matured in terms of the ideologies that drive why we seek public office in the first place. So this is the time, because of agitations and the rest, more for pecuniary reasons, that is why we are having this implosion. But the APC own is particularly very interesting. This is the first time we are seeing this kind of scenario where a sitting chief executive of a state has become the national chairman of a party. I mean, it seems like something from the dreamland. It's something unfathomable. It's something that we didn't think that could happen. And how APC got itself into that, we don't know. But it was supposed to be a caretaker committee that was supposed to pilot the affairs of the party to midwife election of a new central working committee, the national working committee for the APC. That has not happened for a very long time after the ouster of Mr. Adams Oshomole. So why they have not been able to do that is very, very perplexing. And I remember that their own party member, who is a minister and a very, very prominent lawyer, Mr. Festus Keyamo, did raise a very serious alarm just last week before leading to the Congress, saying that on the heels of the Supreme Court ruling about the election in Ondo State, that he strongly advised the party from a professional point of view that the party should not go ahead with those congresses under the leadership of the caretaker committee, who is the sitting governor. But the party went ahead, disregarded that warning, went ahead and had the congresses. Now, the outcomes of that will be very, very grievous for the party, because a lot of people are already going to court, a lot of misgivings are already taking place. And if APC is not careful, this will cause a very serious crack in their party.
Oh, well. All right, still talking APC, and but we're going to bring in the PDP now. The former INEC chairman, Atahiru Jaga, is in the news. He has been in the news in the last couple of days, really, because of his statements asking Nigerians to reject both the APC and the PDP. On The Nation this morning, it says APC, PDP reject Jaga's call for third force. So let's talk about that briefly. Do you think there is still that possibility of the growth of a third force in Nigeria's political conversation?
I don't know what they mean by third force, because this is the second time they are talking about that, the third force. This is actually the second time. We heard about the third force in 2017, leading to the 2019 election, where a group of people came together and called themselves the third force. I don't know what they are forcing, but I don't know what Jaga is talking about actually, because the issue of the word, I'm not comfortable with the word called force in a democratic lexicon. So I think, first of all, the nomenclature of whatever they're coming with, whether it's using third force as a metaphor or it's using third force as a name, I think in the democratic sector we should remove anything that has to do with force. Even the Nigerian police have removed force in their name, and then some political people are coming to add force in whatever they are doing. So first of all, that is a put-off, calling something the third force. But in as much as that, I also agree that we need, there's going to be political realignments. I don't think Jaga is saying anything new. And the outcome of of all these congresses, the outcome of the quest to acquire political power in 2023, there are going to be political alignments and realignments. So groups are going to emerge, just like what happened between 2013 and 2014, where there was a coalition of different groups that seamlessly merged into what we now call the APC. Remember the CPC that time, bringing the power block. Remember the ACN, bringing the power block. We remember, and then the people that called themselves the new PDP, break away from the PDP. Those were the strong forces that came together to form this APC we have today. So, as we go closer to 2023, those kind of political realignments will always come to play, and that's what we are expecting.
Do you also see?
The question is, is it in the interest of Nigerians, or is it in the interest of the political gladiators?
All right. So now I want us to speak about realignments, that seem to be happening also in the PDP. There seems to be crisis as 7 members of the National Working Committee have resigned. It seems it's coming off, disagreements concerning the leadership, Uche Secondus. How do you see this playing out?
It's unfortunate because we are thinking that the PDP could play a credible opposition in this present political dispensation. But the PDP has not been able to live up to a very, very strong opposition, just like what the APC did, when they were in opposition. There were a thorn in the flesh of the PDP when they were in the opposition. Now, the PDP was expected to play that role. But again, you can see what is happening. A lot of intrigues, a lot of political issues are happening in the PDP. So it is for the interest of Nigerians that PDP gets itself right. Because if it doesn't, then there's no opposition anymore. And if you don't have any opposition in a democratic setting, then the ruling party will be left to do whatever it likes and get away with it.
Okay, I want us to quickly turn to Nnamdi Kanu and all the controversy regarding his arrest and detention with the DSS. The headline on the Punch reads, Nnamdi Kanu stable needs advanced medical attention. That's according to the lawyer. Remember what happened with the media trial, the coverage of, the trial of Nnamdi Kanu, how the federal government wants to restrict that, and all the questions that have been asked about this particular matter. Now, his lawyer spoke yesterday saying that they need advanced medical attention for this. But with the way this is going, do you see any resemblance with El-Zakzaky?
Well, I think the federal government, in prosecuting high target cases like this, it's causing more harm to itself, to its image, than good when it says it wants to restrict. I saw the accreditation where they were profiling media houses that will cover the event, accrediting them and the rest. It is not normal. I mean, if we have a case like that, high-profile cases, that allow the media to enter, control it doesn't mean that every person that calls himself a journalist can have access. But at least we know the major dailies in the country. We know the major broadcasting houses. We know the major online. You can work with the Nigerian Union of Journalists. You can work with other, like the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria. You can work with all these unions that have in the media space to ensure that they have credible members covering the event. Now, if you restrict media, the impression you are trying to create is that you have something to hide. So if that is what the federal government is trying to project, that means they are getting the response. Because if you have nothing to hide in the trial, you make it open, and then you bring your case, and then marshal it in court. And the media will always report what transpires in the court, and then do some background check and do some findings and report. So the persons advising the federal government to do this is not doing the federal government any good. I think they should not open up all the trial. People should have access. The court is a public place. People should have access to the court, especially media people, and then they can report. They will have, if it's not even how journalists can enter, we have judiciary correspondents. In every major media house, there is a judiciary correspondent. So the judicial correspondent should take over this case. Allow them to. But when you start restricting media, there's the perception that some people may think, it is people who are friendly with the government, the media houses that are friendly with that are allowed to cover the event. Therefore, they may slant the reports to favor the government. We don't want to hear those kind of outcomes.
All right, Mr. Igboke, just in a few seconds before we wrap up, we see the story on the Daily Trust that the United Arab Emirates has finally lifted the suspension of flights from Nigeria, Nepal, India, and some other countries. Good news for us?
Well, I don't know at this stage where every country is getting worried about the Delta variant of the COVID-19. These people are opening. This country is opening up its borders. I think it's not something to be celebrated. It's something to be viewed with a pinch of salt. Why is that happening? Have they assumed the level of herd immunity? Have they vaccinated other people? When you allow all countries to come and have a melting point and then come back, then what are the strategies put in place to prevent this virus from leaving this country and coming back to Nigeria or other places? And then when you say India right now is battling very hard. I mean, the thing is, the pandemic is hitting them so hard. So for a country where you open the borders to India to fly in, and you also open the border for Nigeria, should be circumspect about this and see how we can contain this virus before it consumes us. All right.
Amrisi Boke, thank you so much for your time this morning, for joining us on Off the Press. Look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you.
All right, stay with us. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be going back in history and telling you things that happened on this day a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Stay with us here on The Breakfast.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, they go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
Welcome back to The Breakfast here on Plus TV Africa. Now let's go back in history, and I'm going back to the year 2012 to tell you, of course, once again, one of the most popular athletes in, of course, Olympic history, but of course popular for other reasons, as history eventually showed us. In 2012, he is popularly known as the Blade Runner, Oscar Pistorius. On this day, on the 4th of August in 2012 in London, he became the first amputee to compete at the Olympics by running in an opening heat of the men's 400 meters. Pistorius finished second out of 5 runners and advanced to the semi-finals, where he finished 8 out of 8 runners. His image would drastically eventually change early the next year when the star athlete was arrested for the murder of his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp. He took second place at a time of 45.44 seconds in that heat. In the semi-finals the next day, he finished last place with a time of 46.54 seconds and also failed to advance to the finals. Pistorius also carried a flag at the opening ceremony of the 2012 Summer Paralympics. He's one of South Africa's most famous athletes. But of course, you know, everyone knows how his story eventually ended with him being sent to jail for the murder of Riva Steenkamp. But of course, on this day, he made very, very big history.
Terrible, terrible story here. At first, it was a great one. People were happy. First amputee runner competed with regular athletes, then with, you know, other amputees. Won 6 gold, won 1 bronze, won 1 silver. Great story out of Africa. But then when we heard that he had murdered his girlfriend, you know, a year later, and that was in about 2013.
On Valentine's Day.
Exactly. On Valentine's Day, that really broke our hearts. Anyway, moving on to our next top story. On Today in History is 29th of, 2019, August the 4th. What happened today in history was the second mass shooting in 24 hours. So about 24 hours before then, there was this mass shooting. This guy had went on social media and basically put out information that was racist to Latino immigrants. And people were really worried. They said that that definitely was fueled by Donald Trump and all his rhetoric against, immigration and all of that. So this guy basically went into a Walmart in El Paso, Texas, that was popularly patronized by Latinos. And he just went in there, just fired randomly, killed 22 people, injured 24. And then less than 24 hours later, this particular guy, in the early hours of the morning in Dayton, Ohio, on August 4th, 2019, went ahead to kill 9 people and injured 27 others. Now, the sad thing is that his sister was caught in a crossfire. His sister also died. And the police were actually nearby, just around the corner, when this guy began shooting. And in less than 30 seconds, the police was able to gun him down. So in 30 seconds, this guy killed 9 people and injured 24. To let you know that he was really just firing to just aim and kill as many people as possible. Still about, like I mentioned, the anti-immigrant rhetoric, the lax gun laws in America and all of that. That's what happened today in history.
The United States of America is, well, sadly, with the amount of mass shootings that it records yearly, I'm not sure what else, I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer really is, and, they've had conversations about gun laws for a long time, and nothing really seems to be changing. They're not making any actual changes or any major shifts with, regards their gun laws. And so, very likely, these things will continue. Good thing is, you might argue that they have, emergency health care when these things happen, and some lives, will be saved. But, what must be done? What does the United States government think it needs to do to reduce the likelihood of these mass shootings happening? They must, take these things seriously. I know that, and I've said, I think a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned, that the NRA, politically, has been one of the stumbling blocks to enacting better gun laws in the United States and reducing the, the possibilities of people just having weapons licensed in their bedrooms. So, well, sad story, really, really sad.
Yes, and that's what we have for you today in history. In 2012, Oscar Pistorius became the first amputee runner, nicknamed the Blade Runner. And on this day in history, the terrible second mass shooting in less than 24 hours on August the 4th. Let's take a break here and we'll return with our first big story.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
You're still live on The Breakfast here on Plus TV Africa. Let's move to our first major topic for today now. We're once again speaking with Mr. Ambrose Iboke, who's joining us from Enugu State. The conversation is centered around the People's Democratic Party and, breaking news that 7 members of its National Working Committee have resigned. Some of the papers report that it is because of a crisis with regards to the leadership of Uche Secondus. It says that those who resigned include the Deputy National Financial Secretary, Deputy Legal Advisor, Deputy National Auditor, the Deputy National Publicity Secretary, and the Deputy Women Leader and Deputy Organizing Secretary of the party. And also the All Progressive Congress and their ward congresses under crisis, which of course has also made the news. But we'll say good morning to Ambrose Iboke once again. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning.
All right, so let's start, mostly with, the crisis with the PDP. How much damage do you think this does to the party?
Well, first of all, it was a shocker that this happened. I didn't see that coming, and I'm sure many people didn't see that coming because PDP over the years have been capable, have shown enough capacity to take care of its problems, except when it started having issues somewhere between 2013 and 2014 when the new PDP emerged. So for a long time, they kept the party intact. And when the Dino Melayes and the Sarakis left, that is where the issues in the party started coming to the fore. This present one, there's something that is very interesting that is happening in this resignation saga. We noticed that what has happened mostly is that the deputies were the ones resigning. So this brings out a lot of questions. Why are the deputies resigning? Is it that they didn't have a working relationship with the substantive heads of those units? Because most of the people that have resigned are the deputies. So what is happening? Is there a grievance that was not being addressed over time? Were they being sidelined? Were they being not carried along in decisions made by the substantive heads? So these are the questions that can be answered. Or is there a thought, hand of Esau, as we say idiomatically, that is propelling these people to take the action? But whatever angle we look at it, it is not good for the party. And the party should do everything as quickly as possible to reconcile these aggrieved ESCO members and bring back the party together.
Let's now also focus a little bit more on the Uche Secondus controversy and those who may not want his leadership and those who say that he has not been able to carry the party well enough. What's your response to that? And is that a big enough reason for the crisis that we are seeing today?
Well, for me, I don't see, in Nigeria, we see leadership as something that is do or die. If you say you want to lead a political party and the people you are leading are saying they don't want to, but on the other hand, the leadership of the party is saying that it's only a few people that are saying there's a negligible few in the party that is being vociferous and saying that they don't want the leadership. So when crises like this happen, the best thing to do is to call for a convention. And when the conventions are called, then you can do what, you can elect whoever you want to elect, and then the politics will take place. But what has happened over the years recently is strange. It's becoming strange, where conventions are being avoided by both parties. So I don't know when the PDP did this convention last or when the APC did this convention last. And it is only through this convention that you can actually select, elect, or ratify your leaders. So parties should not shy away from conventions and the rest. Let them hold this, and let them. That is only when the leadership can validate its authority, or the people can say we don't want you, and then go and get what they want. And so if there are no conventions and the trade is being avoided, we will continue having this kind of monumental issues across party lines.
Okay, Mr. Iboke, something I wanted to bring up regarding this PDP conversation. These leaders of the National Working Committee who resigned, gave an expose yesterday saying that there was a lack of financial transparency, and they went on to challenge, all leaders in Nigeria to go ahead and probe how monies have been spent that was generated from the sale of forms. Do you think this is coming as a blackmail? Because, they've been in this party all along. They're aware of all these discrepancies is happening. So why now? And what exactly should the EFCC and other financial crimes unit begin to do about that?
I don't believe the expose, as you call it. When these people come out and make this kind of statement, they take these actions, resign. They want to justify the resignation based on altruistic reasons. And that is always the posturing that is done in our political space. I'm not fooled by that. Most of these resignations are things that are done on personal basis, for personal grievances, either personally as an individual or as a representative of a power block. So, the financial, lack of financial transparency that they brought on board is just a smokescreen that they are using to shield the main issues on ground. They should tell us what is the main issues on ground and stop
okay, Mr. Iboke,
playing to the gallery.
Mr. Iboke, you say this is like a smoke screen, but there's some evidence that they put out. They said that, first of all, they're petitioning the anti-graft agencies, the EFCC, the ICPC, to scrutinize close to 10 billion naira that was allegedly accrued to the PDP's purse from 2017 to date. And they said that Uche Secondus avoided the use of the bank accounts of the PDP and used the bank accounts of one Morufu Nigeria Limited as a conduit pipe for financial mismanagement. You think this is not something, you think there's nothing here to investigate? Is that what you're saying?
From 2017 till 2021 is 4 years. How can you sit as a member of the National Working Committee of a political party and allow your members to pay into a private or corporate account that is not a PDP account? The story does not add up. So if you have allowed that to happen, then you are, first of all, you are crying 4 years later. We need to probe further, because why will members of a political party in the first place pay into a private account other than that of the party? So why they have raised this issue, they have raised it like when the thing started, or would have told their members not to do that. And if that had begun since 2017, they would have gone to court as validated members of the party and members of the ESCO of the National Working Committee. They would have gone to court to challenge that financial immorality, I will call it, because you cannot ask your party members to be paying things that are payable to the party, be it a sale of form, be it membership, be it whatever, be it donations or whatever to the party, to private account. That happened first year, second year, third year, fourth year. So that is why I say that these things, they don't add up. Because if they really do, why did you keep quiet? Why did you even allow that to happen in the first place? Why didn't you raise the alarm since? But that is not late. Raising the alarm now, let them allow the EFCC and the ICPC to do their job. And then we will watch and see the outcome. But okay, I am not still convinced that why they resigned was for altruistic reasons.
All right, Mr. Iboke, I'm going to go back again and get your view on, as an opposition party, I believe that there are expectations for the People's Democratic Party, and you had earlier mentioned that with the failure of the PDP to stand firm as an opposition party, it basically leaves Nigeria in a one-party state, which is not very good for Nigeria's democracy, like you had described earlier. But do you think that Uche Secondus has been able to carry the party effectively as an opposition party? Seeing, of course, the defections that have happened in the last couple of months and years, and also seeing the strength and the belief that the Nigerian people, most importantly, the belief that the Nigerian people still have in the People's Democratic Party. Do you think that Uche Secondus has been able to keep that party strong enough?
Well, the way the Nigerian political space is arranged is that the party chairman, the national party chairman, can only work as far as his members, especially the governors, allow him to do so. Because the owners of the party is not the party chairman. The owners of the party go beyond the party chairman. And any party chairman can be removed through convention. So for the current party chairman of the PDP to do what? Look at the way the APC party chairman was removed. Mr. Adams Oshomole. So the powers to remove or elect a political party, chairman of a political party, resides with the members of the party. Therefore, when you say Mr. Uche Secondos is not doing is because he has feelings and people are leaving the party, what are the party members themselves doing about this? So if the party members want him to stay, the power blocks within the party want him to stay. That is why he's still there. If they don't want him to stay, he will not be there. So that is their intra-arrangement as a political party, and they are entitled to it. But what we are saying as people, as citizens, is that the party, PDP as a party, should wake up to its responsibility of playing a credible opposition, a vociferous opposition, and a strategic opposition to tackle whatever the ruling party is doing, just like what the APC did to PDP when they were in opposition. That is the kind of, so that they can put the ruling party on their toes. That is what an opposition does.
Yeah, but
if the
there's also people who would
intra-crisis and the rest, then it jeopardizes the whole process.
Yeah, but there's also people who will criticize the manner with which the APC, stood as an opposition party, before it eventually took over power. There's people who've said that they used very crude means, and that's not the, method of the PDP. And that's not what they've been known for. So are you saying that they should, do pretty much the same thing that the APC did in build up to the elections in 2015? Or, is it possible that the PDP has their own way of being an opposition party? What would you suggest, if you were in that position to suggest, what would you suggest, should be the manner the PDP should stand as an opposition party?
As a PR consultant myself, I know that you can always drive your message without using hate speech, without using throwing dirt on people, without using insightful languages and the rest. You can drive home your point. So, but the aspect I am talking about that I think should be regulated as an opposition party is the aspect of relentlessness. That the APC as a political party, when it was in opposition, did not allow the PDP to rest on its oars. Every action taken by the PDP was scrutinized, was dissected, and then the loopholes, they brought up the loopholes and then fired it up. The only aspect we don't agree with is, for example, when you carry a coffin, for example, and you say RIP to a sitting president, or call a sitting first lady hippopotamus, or say a sitting president is clueless. Those kind of languages are gutter languages that should not be allowed in any lexicon of informed people. But outside that, the APC played its role very well by putting the PDP on its toes when it was in opposition. So that is the kind of thing we want PDP to do now. The style should be, Kola Lokodinho did well when he started. All of a sudden, he fizzled out. And Olisanetu was doing it, and then all of a sudden we didn't hear anything again. What we expect the PDP to do is to dig out the dirt, to dig out the mud, to do investigation, do intelligence, bring out things that are happening, and use it as a tool of propaganda, as a tool for making the ruling party be on its toes. As far as that is what it is to be an opposition party. We see the examples in the UK Parliament. We see it in the American Senate and the House, where the opposition, what they want to do is they do a policy, you dissect the policy, all the happenings, the actions taken by government, the executive orders, the failures, so that the ruling party can be on its toes. And once we have that, then we can always be, a better society for what we are. Remember between 1960 to 1966, there was even an opposition leader in the parliament. That is why in the parliamentary system, we even have it recognized that an opposition leader must be in the house. Because they know that the danger of allowing the ruling party on a cruise ride, they know the danger. Those who brought out democracy know the danger of that, and that's why they always put that.
Okay, Mr.
So the PDP should, put its house in order and play that role. Nigerians need them to play that role.
Okay, talking about the role that they're supposed to play as an opposition party, Aminu Tambuwal, governor of Sokoto State and chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, put out a statement yesterday saying that the People's Democratic Party is the only hope of good governance in Nigeria? Given all the challenges and internal squabbles in the party, do you see that as a likelihood?
Do I see that as
a likelihood? And also, there's so many other political parties in Nigeria coming up now. There's several other political parties who seem to want to, put up a national coalition, especially with the third force that Jega has been speaking of. But the PDP are insisting that they are the only hope of good governance in Nigeria. So what do you think about that? Is that statement valid?
It's a matter of that, just like what we used to say, my car is bigger than yours, or my house is bigger than yours statement. Every party has a right to sell. I mean, what Tamboa is just selling his party to the Nigerian populace, to the Nigerian citizens who will eventually be the voters in 2023. So we will see all those kind of statements coming up very soon. Every party believes that it is the best party to rule Nigeria. So it's not something strange. It's just been, of course, as the number one, as the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, as a very strong stakeholder in the party, his work is to sell the party to Nigerians. And if he says his party is the best, of course, he's using the marketing language to sell his party. And that is allowed in politics.
But talking about the good governance he mentioned, the internal situation of a party should be able to give us an insight into what might play out when they, have the helm of affairs of the country. Do you actually think that the PDP can guarantee good governance in Nigeria with the way it's standing as an opposition?
First of all, when we use the word good governance in Nigeria, I don't think we know the indices of good governance across board, based across party lines. Nigerian citizens themselves have not been able to grasp what is good governance. Because when you go across board and ask people what is good governance, they'll give you different reports. So when Mr. Alhaji Tamboa is speaking of good governance, from what perspective? He has not told me the perspective he's using. He has not told me the indicators he's using. He has not told me the parameters that he's using to explain or extrapolate what he means by good governance, and that that the party will give us good governance. The same thing with most people. So until, as a country, we try to, first of all, articulate what is good governance. What are the indicators of a good governance, and then what do we really see them? Because what we call good governance in Nigeria is basically what is the right of citizens already. For example, roads, building hospitals, schools, and that is taking. That is a taking in any democracy. That is an established fact. That is a natural phenomenon. So if good governance ends with that, then some other people see good governance as employment opportunities. Some other people see it as infrastructural development. Some other people see it as giving appointments to their own people from their own particular side of the country or community or from their profession. So these things, Nigeria has not been able to define what good governance is. And anybody can come out and say, we'll give you good governance or I'll give you the best governance. But as I say, these are all marketing strategies. You are selling your political party and you use the right nomenclature, you use the positive energy to sell your political party, and it's allowed in the political space.
What would you say the PDP still needs to do in order to win the hearts of the Nigerian people again? Many people have spoken in favor of abandoning the two major political parties, the PDP and the APC, with the next general elections. There's also those who say never again to the PDP, regardless of how they feel about the current administration. And of course, it might be one of the things that, which I can understand, of course, the members of the party itself have been criticized with not being able to show that, they are truly a better option. And so in what ways would you say that the PDP can, still find some goodwill with the Nigerian people and make the Nigerian people look at them as, an option?
I'm surprised that Nigerians are still making distinctions as whether which party is better, whether it's PDP or APC. For me, there are no basis for those comparisons because the politicians who are in APC today, many of them were in PDP yesterday, and some are in APC today. Tomorrow they may go back to the PDP. So there are not really any serious demarcations between the parties across party lines. So saying that whether PDP has that sounds what we are looking at, the politicians themselves. Nigerians should look beyond the parties. The parties are not the problem. it is ourselves as a people that are the problem. So even if you like, create the third force or the fifth force or the 10th force with the political arrangement we have now, it is not the political party name that we rule. It is the people that we have to engage with as our leaders, and the citizens as well as the followers. Therefore, the PDP as a political party should quickly put its house in order. They cannot afford to go close to an election arrangement with this kind of fractured arrangement where the serious members of the National Working Committee are resigning. So the first thing is quickly to get a reconciliation team to mediate. If they like, they can get professionals to mediate, and then quickly call the agreed people to together and see how they can quickly resolve this in a very short time, so that they can come back together and then put their house in order. Because we really need a credit. We need a very, very a boisterous election. We want to see political parties show up credible candidates. We want to see what Nigerians want to have options, to vote for. And we want all the political parties, major political parties, to be healthy so that they can provide those options for us.
Okay, Mr. Iboke, you've gave some suggestions on what the PDP needs to do. You've also called for a national convention earlier in the show. But right now, we have word that governors of the People's Democratic Party have basically shared an emergency meeting to discuss this. They say they have instituted an internal conflict resolution mechanism. What do you think or expect to be the outcome of that? Do you maybe foresee some of these leaders who resigned coming back to the PDP after, they all worked things out? Or what's your prediction?
Well, when commanders have grievances and you don't attend to them, they decide to make a point by, taking actions so that you can take them seriously. I think that's what has happened. So whatever it is, I know that as the PDP governors have said, they have internal party reconciliation strategies and mechanisms that can make it work. Maybe they resigned as a way of stating that they were not being listened to. They were not being carried along, or something else is happening that they needed to bring to the attention of the governors. Because as it stays, in any political party arrangement in Nigeria, it's actually the governors that are the power blocks in the political parties. Therefore, it is good that the governors are looking into it. Maybe the National Working Committee, Executive Council did not look into it critically. That is why it snowballed into this issue of mass resignation. Let's wait for the outcome of what the governors will do, but I'm sure that they should be able to come out with solutions, because these are seasoned politicians and administrators. They should be able to come out with a solution to this internal crisis.
Is there a role you think the likes of Atiku Abubakar and former President Goodluck Jonathan can still play in all of this?
Who?
I'm asking, is there a role you think Atiku Abubakar and former President Goodluck Jonathan can still play in settling these crises in the PDP?
They are senior members of the party. I mean, they are looked upon as party leaders. So the governors have moved in, and I'm sure that at the governors' level it can be resolved. If there will not be resolved, the leaders can come in. They are all leaders of the party. And every leader of the party has a role to play to ensure that their party, of every political party, have a role to play to ensure that their party remains intact. And every political party was formed to win elections. They were not just formed for mere existence. So if you have to win election, you have to be serious, your party has to be intact, and then dissensions have to be at the barest minimum so that you can remain focused. That is the essence of political party arrangement.
Okay, finally, before we go, I want you to, speak with regards to something that I brought up, I think, last week, and that is, the redirection of political parties, towards the 2023 general elections. There's a lot of Nigerians who are, looking to see young and progressive and, different mindsets, in these political parties. Would you advise that these major political parties start to think in that direction and look out for candidates that fit into the picture that Nigerians are looking towards, adopting younger, more vibrant, more progressive candidates to fly the flag for them in 2023?
The problem of Nigeria is not the age of its political actors. The problem of Nigeria is the mindset of the citizens. Age has nothing to do with how you rule a country. The United States we are using as our own examples always when we talk about, democracy. In the last 5 years, we've been shown that, old people can also rule the United States of America. People in their 70s, and I think by the time Biden is leaving office, he should be 80-something. Israel, that is doing very well, is a society, is ruled by gerontocrats. Right from in the 70s of those days, we have the Shimon Peres, the late Yitzhak Rabin, and a lot of them, old men, ruling Israel. And Israel is doing very well. So we also have countries that are ruled by young people, and they are doing well. So it is not about the age. Political parties should look about dedication, altruistic and nationalistic disposition. That is what we work. What can we do for our country to make our country better? So if we don't have that mindset as citizens, it is the citizens of Nigeria that will get elected into political offices. So if we, as a people, we are not have a regenerated mindset to know that country comes first, then we will be where we are. So it is not. So these people talking about give it to younger people, and we have seen. Go to the SCGs, student union government in the universities. You will be appalled at what is happening there. Are there not young people?
Absolutely.
Go to NANS, National Association of Nigerian Students. Go to other places where we have youth, even in special advisors, as governors, as commissioners, ministers, and so it is not about age. So we should focus on what is really our problem and not about age.
All right. Ambrose Igboke, thank you so much for speaking with us this morning. Truly enjoyed the discussion.
Thank you.
Have a great day ahead. All right. Stay with us to take a short break, and when we come back, we're moving into talking, now mostly about the All Progressive Congress and the crisis with the award congresses, and of course, May Malabuni, and some of all of that. The Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, is in the news this morning as leading, the efforts to sort out the legal, challenges they might be having with the award congresses. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stay with us.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power, and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare, Sundays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
Don't concern yourself too much with what others think, because that will slow your own progress down.
If you've not worked in corporate world and you decide to start off your own thing, except you obviously get like the required skills, you definitely would have a lot of glitches along the way.
This my entrepreneurship journey. The greatest problem I have are dedicated staff. You see, staff are willing to get to the job before the job starts. God forbid they resume at 8. They will literally fall down and die.
There's a lot of entitlement that comes up in marriages, both on the
if you're
side
married to me, I'm
of
so
men
entitled
and
to you.
women. No, I'm not saying we're not entitled, and that's the honest truth. But I think that there's a lot of entitlement that sometimes comes in.
Your wife was there.
No.
She carried your baby. She sacrificed her life. Made
I
sacrifices
wouldn't
in the
shred
workplace.
it if this
And
was a man.
Now you're not telling me 5 years into the marriage you need a prenup. Guy, check
Something,
yourself.
there must be a reason for something.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. On the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
There has to be a decision point. The way your baby is presenting, we have to rush you in. And my partner at the time was like, "You going to cut her? Are you going to cut her? Is it going to leave a scar?" And I said, "Am I a belly dancer? What is the problem here?"
No, I'm vulnerable about the future of the children, the future of mine and the future of the generation of my children.
I want to have nude pictures taken. Of you? Yes,
Yeah,
but
we
without
have
showing my
references.
private parts.
I
I want to
yeah,
put it
someone-
in my front room. And they said, "You can't do that. People will be embarrassed when they came into your house." I said, "But it's my body and it's my front room."
All the things that we do, what is the purpose of it?
I just realized that I was more trusting before I was 6.
So many women, they just feel like I have to cook for my husband, I have to breastfeed my children, I have to pick them from school.
Because society expects
Then you
them
go
to.
home and you cry and you stop your career, you can't do anything, then you blame everybody. You took that choice.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
Welcome back to The Breakfast here on Plus TV Africa. Our final conversation this morning still is on the crisis with the two major political parties in Nigeria, the APC and the PDP. 7 National Working Committee members of the PDP resigned in the latest news, and there are rumors that it might just be because of the controversies with the leadership of Uche Secondus. And also, in the APC, Mai Mala Buni has his own fair share of crisis with the ward congresses and legal battles that seem to be upcoming. We're going to be bringing in this morning Professor Kenneth Nweke, who's joining us from River State, to share his views on these, issues. Good morning, Professor Nweke.
Thank you and good morning. How is Lagos?
Lagos is beautiful this morning.
Good morning.
All right. Nigeria's two major political parties seem to be going through, some turmoil, as it seems. What would you describe as what might be going on in the PDP, or let's start with the APC, rather. Does it seem like they might be shooting themselves in the foot as, these decisions that, they've made in the last couple of months seem to be biting them back?
What else do you expect? A political party, this is these are part of the activities of political parties. So when you don't get these vibes, so what else do you get? And so, what else do you get? These vibes are expected. Politics is all about struggle for power. And so when these things happen, for me, Nigerians make these things as if something else has happened. No, it's expected. What else? What is going on in APC or PDP or even the proposed parties that will come and all that? They're expected. Struggle for power. Struggle for power. Politics is all about that. And so individuals will go for their interests. Those who also speak purportedly for the masses, for the people of Nigeria. If you look inward, they are speaking for themselves. Except those of us who can spare our time just talking for the good of Nigeria. But even at that, we still think about our individual interests, even as you are all in the studio. First, you're thinking of yourself. Me, you, and all that. That is the problem of Nigeria. It's not these distractions that we're hearing, getting here, getting these vibes. These vibes are expected. 2023 is also coming. And also, so what do you expect? It is political contestation. Leadership. People want to aspire to be in control. Nobody wants to, one, you want to get money. Two, you want to be it all. The man that says, go here and people go and all that. So Nigerians like that type of thing and all that. So what you are seeing in APC is expected. So the decisions that APC may have taken in the last few months and all that, maybe like you said, hunting them and all that, what else do you expect? Political parties will make mistakes and then they will correct themselves if they also understand why they are there and all that. So it's expected. Whether in the PDP side you are seeing people resigning and all that. So what's the issue there? What should interest us so much? What should interest us is about how to bring Nigeria, of course, to the path of progress. It's not about those distractions. For me, they are mere distractions, distracting Nigerians from really focusing on asking relevant questions, critical questions, fundamental questions that can bring about the desired change in Nigeria. And so on the part of the masses, on the part of Nigerians who have continued to make those over without challenging status quo. They are all comfortable with any new status quo that they find themselves. It's about, their survivor. Whoever that comes to power and then survives them, to God be the glory. And they go sleeping and all that. And so now it's about APC. And then now it's about the PDP. And then we got into some kind of, what's our interest? Our interest should not be about what is happening among themselves. Because those who have resigned, if you also look at their position, they are deputies. So not to undermine the relevance of deputies in organization and all that.
Professor Nweke.
So,
Yes, Professor Nweke, there are lots of, can you hear me? There are lots of reasons that have come up as to why these 7 PDP leaders resigned. First of all, they mentioned that the leadership of Uche Secondus was poor. They also went ahead to bring out evidence to say that about 10 billion naira that accrued from sales of nomination forms in the PDP from 2017 till date were being paid into a private account of a man called Morufu and not the PDP the PDP party account. But as a member of the party, what can you tell us about what indeed is a fact regarding why these 7 leaders resigned?
I heard you say as a member of the party. Did you say?
Can you hear me, Mr. Professor Nweke?
Yeah, I heard you, but did you say as a member of the party? You're asking me a question.
Yes.
So I'm not
okay.
The party.
All right. So what can you tell us as to why, or how can you analyze the reason why, these members resigned?
You see, I don't have problems with anybody resigning. Anybody. I'm sure that they decided one day that they will find themselves in those positions. And they also decided that they no longer want to remain in the positions that they are serving. I don't have problems. It's personal choices of these ones to resign, for goodness sake. And Nigerians should not bother themselves about who is resigning, who is not resigning. Nigerians should bother themselves about, how to make a difference. How to make a difference. We have how many, over 70 million Nigerians that are usually registered. So how can we up that? How can we take that to 100 million plus and all that? And then how, election, round of election, cycle of election, how that over 60% of us out to vote. So that we can actually make, and so that should be our major concern as Nigerians, and not about what, Nigerians deciding to go get their PVCs and take the patience in lining up on election day to say, look, I want to vote, I want to vote our consciences. We want to vote, after explaining candidate A, B, C, D, irrespective of party lines and all that. We want to see more Nigerians who have the interest of Nigeria and Nigerians, emerge in political contestations like those. And so those are the things that should concern us. Not APC making a mistake in whatever, in leadership, and then some people being aggrieved about, about what money was not properly used. If they were also given those that position, that is occupied by the #1 man in that party today, would they do anything different? That's the question. Would they do anything different from what Secondus is alleged to have committed? I'm not either speaking for or against their actions or actions of the leadership of the party. My interest is how do we enthrone a political leadership in this country that would make a difference from what has been in place. And so that difference can always come when millions of Nigerians can take themselves away from the level of docility that they find themselves today or yesterday, to doing something different.
Yeah, but
by saying, look, on a day of election, they want to vote for any political party of their choice or candidate of their choice, knowing too well that they were not induced in doing so.
Yeah, Professor Nweke.
What I think that Nigerians should be thinking about.
Yeah, but Professor Nweke, the challenge, that lies here is that, it seems like the pathways to achieving what you're asking of Nigerians, it seems like these pathways are blocked because, these same political parties are in control of every single detail and every single, all the machineries that should lead Nigerians to this political awareness and freedom that you're speaking of. We still have challenges with registering more and more millions of Nigerians, who want to get registered for the electoral process. There's still very, very little education with regards, the electoral process, and also the level of interest even in the process seems to be waning every day. So what would you say, Nigerians, still have any hope in with regards being able to make these decisions that you've pointed out?
Yes, it's clear. It would appear, my dear brother and sister and the Nigerians, that there are roadblocks because two major political parties are there. Not even with the hope of the PRP that's been proposed by Professor Jega and any other one or third force that will be proposed in the nearest future that will give Nigeria the desire that we have today. There is nothing wrong in any of these political parties that you mentioned, either APC or PDP, or even the new one, like I said, in delivering on the mandate. It's about Nigerians who find themselves in those political parties. It's not about the political party as the name. Because those you find in either APC today, we are once members of the other party, PDP. And those you find in PDP, we are other members of APC and all that. And then even the third force, if as it were, that anybody who wants to propose tomorrow would also be drawn from any of these political parties, including other Nigerians that have been sitting on the fence and all that. But what matters here is not about the political party. It's about people themselves, Nigerians themselves, making a difference. People have, if we recorded about less than 30 million Nigerians who voted in the 2015 and 2019 general elections. Can we in 2023 show up this number by, increasing the awareness, just like what we are doing today, what we are doing constantly, the media, and those of us who have left what we are doing, to begin to conscientize Nigerians. And so we continue to do consistently what we are doing, knowing too well that Nigerians are sleeping, sliding to their slumber state and all that, without getting up to question because they believe that there are roadblocks. It's either you get blocked, when you want to go to the other side, either or this other side, you are caught up between PDP and APC, or even the third force to come. No. So, but even within those political parties, there are still good Nigerians. There are these ones that emerge from within the populace and others. And we grow up in our neighborhood. People know us, for goodness sake. And when these ones emerge as candidates of their political party, for goodness sake, people can begin to also raise some kind of a political education, during electionary campaigns and all that. To begin to see whether APC or PDP or even any other political party for that matter, they begin to say, candidate A for House of Assembly in this, is a better candidate than this and other. And you begin to look at their pedigrees and other. How successful have these ones been in their businesses? How successful have these ones been in the public service or in the private services that they engaged in the past? So people should begin to look at the pedigrees of these ones and not about high-profile ones, about these other. No. We should begin to look at them from birth, from how they were raised and all that, and how, not exactly about how they were raised, but how they also raised themselves and all that, and how they found themselves in the public space and all that. And so you begin to, assess these ones, from childhood, to begin to say, okay, look, these ones can be trusted more than these ones. So if you begin, cutting across party lines, and so Nigerians begin to do those, and vote those ones that they think that they have more confidence in, irrespective of the parties that they come from, whether APC or PDP or the PRP or whatever you call them tomorrow and all that. We should start from somewhere, not to begin to think that there are roadblocks, either you get stuck with APC or get stuck with PDP. No, Nigeria has a lot of space to find a pathway for progress. We cannot continue to see ourselves as being stuck between these two major political parties. No. Even the new ones, they cannot provide a leeway ordinarily. But Nigerians can, within what we political parties that we find ourselves, to begin to do a lot in terms of using the power of their PDCs, to show some of them that they are disgusted with, their way out and all that. And if we begin from there, at least things will begin to change, a bit, and not to feel that, we are stuck. We are not stuck anyway. We have decided to remain where we are because we have refused to find, a way out of where we find ourselves. All right.
Obviously, a lot of work still needs to be done. Sadly, it's not moving at the pace that, a lot of people would have believed it will move at, since 1999. But, we'll continue to take the steps that are necessary and continue to have these conversations. Professor Kenneth Nweke, thank you so much. We enjoyed speaking with you this morning. We wish you a great day ahead. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. And remain blessed. Continue to do what you are doing, because posterity will judge all of us one day.
Absolutely.
All right, so yes, this is where we draw the curtain. But just to quickly drop in that breaking news story that we saw last night, that about 3 students from the Baptist school in KD have actually been found alive. The story was that they were kidnapped and then they were re-kidnapped by some bandits when they were wandering in the bush. But we'll have still have more facts to uncover regarding this. But 3 students have been found alive. And that's the much we can give today on The Breakfast. We thank you very much for joining us. I am Anetta Felix.
And I am Osaogi Ogbawa. See you at 9.
Welcome to this edition of Timeless Conversations. My guest today is Alfred Okoro.
The Nigerians here seem frustrated. Everybody wants to leave. And the moment they cross these waters, they excel. Both Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, South, everybody in Nigeria. We've been ranked the most successful ethnic group in the United States. Why is it that we excel there, but not at home? Our diversity makes us the better. I believe so. I will be one of those to tell you I do not believe this country was designed to succeed. But so what? Nobody wants to start anything that they will not live to enjoy.
Timeless Conversations, airing every Sunday at 8:30 p.m.
is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.